and welcome to the Lake Mills Parks Board meeting of November 10th, 2025. We will do the agenda and then we'll do the call to order. So the call to order, then it will be roll call, then we'll do the Parks and Forestry report, abbreviated version. Number 4 is Parks Board minutes, review and approval of the October 20th, 2025 minutes. 5 is other public comments, including emails, and then the new business is discussion review of the comprehensive outdoor recreation plan, discussion of the traffic safety at Bartel's Beach, discussion of naming rights to select city parks, and discussion and recommendation for Dr. Ken Stenson Rotary Park pension donation. Beth Naughton will be presenting that. 7 will be announcements. 8 is create an agenda for the December meeting. And the next meeting is December 8th, 2025. So that is our agenda. So with a roll call, please, Anita.
Anita Martin here.
Tim Sprecher here.
Mary Schmager here.
Jacob Slobby here. Mike Niesman here.
All right, thank you. And we are also joined with Drake Daly in the parts of the reports. So Parks and Forestry report. Drake, what abbreviated thing do we have?
The public piers have all been taken out. The restrooms have been closed for the ones that close in the winter months. The department will now be transitioning to its fall forestry work for the most part, trimming and tree removals that were on the list. That is the main update that I have for you. The boat lifts have also been removed down at Sandy Beach. So for the most part, the winterizing of the public parks should be complete. And now we'll transition to our fall and winter duties.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Drake regarding the Parks or Forestry report? I do have a question. Do you know when the posting for the Parks and Forestry Director will be made public?
A couple pieces to that. So we are looking at a potential kind of reorganization. The Director of Public Works has always also overseen utilities. We're looking at perhaps breaking that out and having a Director of Utilities and then a Director of Public Works that would then oversee streets and parks.
Okay.
As part of its role. We have engaged a recruiter for the position, so we should be having a kickoff meeting at the end of this week. The city is in a hiring freeze for the remainder of the year, so we will not have any employees starting prior to the first of the year. So we will be kicking off the process, but I don't anticipate any update for you for several weeks, if not into the new year, as far as bringing a candidate forward for city council confirmation.
All right.
Yeah, I have a question. Drake, why the hiring freeze? Is that a reflection of the federal business?
It's not. The city of Lake Mills is rejoining the state of Wisconsin group health insurance plan. And that means we have to undergo underwriting with them. And since we can't submit the names of individuals who aren't currently employed by the city, they require anyone who's hired at the time the resolution was adopted to join that system to the first of the year to be able to only elect one of their health insurance plan choices, which is called the Dean Access Plan. That plan is over $1,000 per month for an employee contribution. And so the city, myself, and the rest of the management team don't feel right hiring someone before to the end of the year and then putting them in a situation where they have to choose a costly health insurance plan. If they start after the first of the year, they can pick any health insurance plan that's offered through the state plan, which is a considerable reduction in cost to the employee for the plan options that are available to them. So it's not a requirement, but we also don't feel right starting someone knowing that would be coming for them in the new year.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the question and thanks for the insight. It's good to know. If no other questions, let's move to item number 3, which is, or number 4, Parks Board minutes submitted by Mike Esman. Any corrections or additions?
I had just a couple, in number 8 recommendations. One thing I had recommended was a potential field trip to Tyranina Park. That's not noted on here. And then just semantics, today is Monday, November 10th, not November 13th on number 9.
Good catch.
So number 9 is, it should be amended to November 10. And then on the recommendations for future agenda items, we had 1, review the different sections of CORP, which then 2 was consider recommendations for the installation of speed bumps on Ferry Drive. And then the third one,
Field
Okay.
trip to
Tyranina.
Tyranina.
okay,
I can add that to it.
right.
Thank you.
And with Tyranina Park, that's upper and lower Tyranina, correct?
There's only one, is there not? It's just 2 separate parking lots?
Basically, yes.
Yeah, okay. So you're talking about the upper is just the one further down the road? Like
The one next to the lake, I think, is considered lower, and the one up with the, on, is considered the upper, but
But they're both next to the lake. Are you thinking of Rock Lake County Park, Upper Rock Lake and Lower Rock Lake County? No. Okay,
But anyway, this,
okay.
we want to go to both places. We want to look at the pier, we want to look at the, out the facilities for the restrooms, and I suppose we want to look at the top parking, correct, at Tyranina, plus rebar and such that's in the paths and such.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, if we're going to be
Okay.
there, we might as well look at the whole park and see what other issues that might be coming up. Drake, could you clarify, do we usually call the upper Tyranina Park and lower Tyranina Park?
We do. Some also just say Tyranina Park as well.
Okay, okay.
I think, so I printed up, back when I first joined, a list of the parks, because I didn't know them all, and all we have is Tyranina. It doesn't say it, but it also doesn't include the other park you just mentioned, the,
Those are Rock Lake, Upper Rock Lake.
The Rock Lake.
Those are county parks.
That's a county
that's
park.
why. Okay.
But thank you.
So I don't know what the official designation is.
So it, well, but again, I think part of the, for the field trip, I think we should do the whole Tyrannia Park, if we're gonna take the time. Thank you for that. Any other corrections or additions? All right, if not, do I hear a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
I move to accept the minutes from the October 20th meeting as amended.
All right, thank you. Do I have a second?
I second that motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, thank you. Thank you, Mike. And welcome back from your short hiatus. What was that, an hour or 24?
Yeah, I apologize for the brief histrionics, but the man who can't change his mind can't change anything. And thankfully, Tim and Lisa agreed to take me back.
All right, well, thank you. Moving on to number 5, other public comments, including emails. None, okay. Mary?
The only email correspondence I received is in relation to Sandy Beach restaurant ideas. I think it was mainly focused as a city council member, but since we have discussed food and beverage service, I'll just share that I did receive some correspondence.
All right, thank you. Jacob?
Nothing.
Okay, Mike?
Nothing.
Had some comment today that they thought the flags on Commons Park were nice and appropriate for tomorrow's Veterans Day, so thank you for doing that to the city. New business, discussion review comprehensive outdoor recreation plan, which is a continuation of work we've done before. We will look, and I believe, and it's not specific in here, but I believe we were going to go to what chapter, which chapter were we going to be going to?
Today,
Yes.
I think weren't we on 10?
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's not in here, but
Or-
it's on 10, which starts on which page?
One on page 80? Or am I looking at the
Hang on
wrong
a
thing?
minute, look.
May I borrow this? All right.
Yes, you may. I'm missing some pages. I don't know, I must have left them at home. So chapters 9 and 10 are missing.
You know, mine are too, oddly enough. I printed up the
So I
whole
think
thing,
we
I
were
thought.
talking about walking through each of the parks. Can I offer?
Was that 7?
Can I offer just a suggestion on the agenda for today? We do have a person here to represent item D. Should we move to D so then our guest doesn't have to wait through all of our
I
meeting
think that's a
items?
great discussion. I know that in the, yeah, and that's another thing for just future agenda items. Anytime we know we're going to have a guest presenter, I think as far as our process, we should let them go first, so we can always do that. So yes, I think that's a great idea. Let's move to D, which is a discussion and recommendations for the Rotary Park donation. Beth, are you ready to present your request, please?
My
Just
name
state
is-
your name and,
My name is Beth Naughton. I live at W7898 County Road B, Lake Mills. And I'm here tonight because the Rotary Club of Lake Mills would like to install, or have the city install, a park bench in honor of Dr. Ken Stetson at Rotary Park. And we submitted the paperwork for that.
yeah, and did everyone get a chance to see the paperwork that was presented that the Rotary is going to sponsor, what was it, $1,800?
Correct. The city gave us the cost of the bench and said that including installation, they believed it would be $1,800 should cover it.
All right, thank you. With Beth being here, any questions, comments for Beth before we do our discussion or recommendation?
And we had just also said, discussed with Eric Schreiner that we would come to an agreement on a mutually acceptable place to install the bench. We don't have a set, idea where it needs to go.
Okay, all right. And is there an expectation, Beth, is when this is going to be installed?
Next spring, summer timeframe.
So, all right, thank you. Questions? If not, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to add that when it was initially discussed with Eric Schreiner, he provided the information as to the same type of bench styling and engraving, that's consistent with the other benches in the park. So that is why we went with what is recommended.
Because the city does have certain standards and such. Maybe for people that are watching or maybe watching this, Beth, are you able to give us a little background on who Dr. Ken Stenson is or was?
Ken was a longtime Rotarian and former school board member, and just did a lot of wonderful things for education here in Lake Mills.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, comments for Beth or Drake? All right. So, thank you, Beth.
Thank you for moving me up.
Thank you, Mary, for reminding me of that. So what are our thoughts? Do we have a motion to accept the donation from Rotary regarding Dr. Ken Stenson's bench?
I so move.
All right, do we have a
Second.
second? All right, do we have a vote? Anita?
Aye.
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 Thank you, Beth, and thank you, Rotary.
Just for the minutes, there is a spelling error on the agenda. It is Stetson, Stetson. That's our mistake.
Okay, so what was it again, Drake?
Stetson, Stetson.
All right, like the hat, like the Stetson. Okay, thank you.
Originally from New Jersey.
All right, thank you. So with that, let's move back to our new business discussion review of the plan. Did we find our pages?
Which chapter are we
I
looking for?
believe last agenda item, we were going to be discussing chapter number 10.
Yeah, I don't have
So
it.
I think it was chapter 8.
Chapter 8, I
I
think
actually, I
recommended
know
park.
I have written 10. I don't know what's going on with my notes, but because I had an error in my translation of some minutes that we actually approved on city council. So I don't know, my notes are not very accurate these days, but I had that we worked through at our last meeting, chapter 10, version 2 draft, but there is no chapter 10.
No, in the original, I have 9 is planned implementation,
Yeah,
period. There is
so
no.
I don't know
10.
where we've all been talking about chapter 10, but we actually worked through chapter, let's see, so
Okay.
we worked through the
That's 6.
back,
Well,
6.
I thought that we had said
Six.
page 80 recommended park and open space improvements. Does that sound like what
Yes,
we were
that's
gonna
chapter 8. So we should be
Chapter
on
8.
chapter 8.
talk- Okay.
We worked through chapter 6, which is the goals, objectives, and that's where we need to reconcile the notes. And I have a to-do to check my personal laptop, because I think they might be housed on there, not on my business one. So I will make sure that those notes get redistributed through Lisa. I'll have Lisa send those out.
So just for clarity, those are on the city website now. They are not. What we
No,
worked
I
on?
believe what's attached in our minutes, that is the original from 2020
Okay, all right.
to
Not the-
2025.
not
The edits we made, because we added some different language, like pride as being a core, remember we had some different words? That's not reflected in the materials that were attached for today's agenda. So I'll work on finding those and work with Drake and make sure we can get those notes redistributed with all of our edits from chapter 6.
Chapter
And then we
6.
discussed going through each park and the recommendations from the 2020 to 2025. I think that's what we talked about doing chapter 6, page 80.
All right. And then as far as today, we are going to work through the items on chapter 8. And I apologize because I don't have that in front of me, so.
Excuse me, Mary, just so chapter 6 was page 64. Page 80 is chapter 8.
Okay.
So,
All right, so thank you for
on
the
the same
clarification.
page. What
Yeah,
page number
all
are
right,
these?
so we are beginning with the page 80, which is chapter 8. And may I borrow someone's,
Yes, you may borrow my hard copy.
yeah, and then we'll just go through, like last time, we'll just go
You
through
can
each one and make changes as we.
Chapter 8.
Thank you much. All right, so
Go ahead, because you can take, well, let me see, if I can edit, this is in PDF, so I don't have this text. Last time Eric sent me the text in a Word document, so I could edit along the way, but this is I don't know if I can edit. Let me just see, let me do a practice.
may I make just a comment in that right now, we don't seem to have something that's editable, and I think when it comes to the public comment or the, expectation on the agenda, is this might be something that we might defer to December, so when we get it in a Word document and something that's editable, and then be specific as what we're going to be discussing, and just put that to December. I know we're putting it back, but I think right now it just seems like we're a little bit discombobulated when it comes to, the edits and.
Thank you. I think that'd be, otherwise I'm going to have to sit and watch the whole thing and try to do it. It's much more efficient if we do it. Also, it kind of clarifies it because you can ask exactly what we want, Mary, when you type in at the time. So I
So,
would support that.
Okay, so we clear that, right, I think it might be wise to make sure then the next agenda that we have editable copies of chapter 8, which starts on page 80 in the original, and what was the date of this plan was from the meeting on 2020 to 2025 comprehensive plan.
Do you want me to ask Lisa for that, Mary, or are you going to do that?
If you could ask her, that would
I'll
be great.
take care of
'Cause
that.
I'm doing one quick thing. I'm seeing if I can copy this into Word. If I can copy it into Word, we can go today, but I don't know if I can, so let me give it a quick try.
And the formatting usually gets buggered up when you do that.
It might, because there's a lot of exhibits in here.
Yeah.
I'll ask for that.
Yeah, I think going forward, if we can, from Lisa and others, if we can get it into an editable document that can be sent and then made into a PDF. Drake, can I put you on the spot? Is that acceptable if we ask Lisa to, provide an editable copy?
Yep, that's no problem. And I can see if I can find it in Eric's files as well, if he
Okay.
has a working document anywhere that I can send to you as well.
Okay, all right, thank you. So we'll just pause for a moment and see if Mary can work her magic.
Yeah, so when I copy it, it copies, oh, this isn't so bad. Hang on a second. Yeah, the exhibits are the things there's so many pictures. Let me just see.
if they can print it up and we have a smaller document to work on.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
let's do that.
December, okay.
Yeah, all right, so do we have a motion to move discussion of Chapter 8 and things to December?
Do we
8th
have
meeting?
to, do we have to have a motion on that? You
No,
can just
no,
defer it,
not a
right?
motion, but
Don't we
we have
have
an
to?
agreement, I guess, I should ask.
Don't
Thank
we
you.
have to have a motion since it's on the agenda? No?
You can operate mostly anything on unanimous consent, so if you all agree to move it to the next agenda, you don't need a motion.
Okay, so we all agree to move it to,
Yeah.
and with the request of, the ask will be to get it in an edible.
And I'll copy you on my email to Lisa.
Great.
Okay. You being Drake Daly.
Right, sorry.
It might be helpful on the agenda if we would say CORP, page 80, chapter 8, recommended park improvements and open space. So if people are trying to
Yep.
find the section, they can find it a little more
Yeah,
readily.
Yeah, and I think we
Yeah.
should do that going forward, so it's specific on the agenda what we're going to discuss.
Then she can also have the link to just that chapter.
Sure.
That'd be
No,
great.
That'd be a good ask, I think.
Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Can I ask one more question, Drake?
Yes,
Since this is a 2020 to 2025, are we in any violation of anything, given that will be we're not done with our revision to actually have it at 2026? What risks do we have? Are there any negative consequences, the fact that we haven't moved this along? Like to meet before it expires, if you will,
You have to have an active CORP in order to be eligible for some
grants.
state grants. And so that would be your only risk, is if some grant opportunity popped up unexpectedly. I don't believe we have any active grant applications currently that would be affected. And if that became, if there was one we needed to imminently apply for, you can simply adopt the old CORP as the new CORP as well to qualify for that. So, I think it's fine. I think you can continue going through it, methodically, make sure it says what you want it to say. At this point, I don't anticipate any adverse consequences. So I think ideally, yes, it's a new one is approved before the old one expires, but there's no punishment coming our way if this gets adopted in February instead of December.
Okay.
thank you. That was a great ask, Mary, and thank you for the clarification, Drake. And I would also propose, if it was something that was some risk, we could probably have a special meeting that we could, work through it and get it, done. So thank you for the guidance and thank you for the question, Mary. So with that, we're all in agreement that we'll move that to the discussion with a request, Lisa, to have it editable. And we'll be specific as to what we're going to be talking of. Thank you. So going to item 6B, traffic safety at Bartel's Beach. Now, I apologize, I don't remember who is bringing this up.
Mike.
Mike,
Actually,
okay.
it was mine, and the situation is, you're basically coming up on a blind corner when you're going on South Ferry from north to south. You know, the Bartels Beach garage barn blocks that whole parking area. And then coming north, when you come over the bridge, you enter into a very heavily trafficked and parked area with all cars. And I think, yeah, I know it's posted for 15, but that is not generally observed, which I am also guilty of on times. And my concern is that some kid's going to burst out of the cars and get hit. And my suggestion would be that we consider, and if we agree, recommend that the Public Works Board, in whose purview it really is, look at a temporary speed bumps. Because when I brought this up some years back, the then city manager objected that you couldn't put it on a state alternate highway, which, according to the new Delphic Oracle, Google, in fact, you can. Again, that would be up to the Public Works Board. And second, I can see the concern, though, and frankly, the biggest problem, I think, is the season, Memorial Day or Labor Day to Memorial Day, whichever order they go in. And you can get for about $100 to $200 those just movable ones. You could put one just to the south of the bridge, or if you want, right after the bridge, and then one at where the sign currently is, it says 15. And that's my shtick. I think it's something worth looking at. Granted, I'm not aware of any accidents that have happened, but it just seems to me a fraught situation.
And if I'm hearing you, that these would be temporary for summer use, so wouldn't be a concern for streets, plowing or maintenance and such.
And you'd even remove it, if you moved it at Labor Day, it'd even be before the leaf blower and stuff would have to go through.
And the buses, well, Lakeside Lutheran buses would be coming earlier, but,
Which isn't a bad idea to slow them down
yeah, I
either.
know.
Okay. So with the request of discussion, what more discussion or investigation would be prudent? Types of warnings, like some places now, they've got the flashers when you step, like they do on Main Street up by the VFW. You get there, and are we researching options and costs, or what are we doing with our recommendation?
I believe the recommendation was to ask Public Works Board to evaluate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to get in the weeds in their business. I mean,
Right,
I
I
really
mean,
like those
Yeah.
pedestrian crossing things, but they would be constant because everybody's always running across there.
So do we have a unanimous consent that we request that the city, the
Public Works Board.
Public Works look into traffic safety and options at Bartels Beach?
Yes.
That's a motion.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
All right, thank you. Do we have somebody, who, so you
You just
second?
made the motion, and I
Okay, I
seconded
second
it.
it. So do we have Anita,
Yeah,
Yep.
yes.
Okay.
Aye.
Mary?
Yes, aye.
Aye.
I,
Thank you very much. And thanks for bringing it up. Moving on, 6C, discussion naming rights to select city parks. And when you say select city parks, do we have specifics? Are we talking Tyranina? Are we talking, which select parks might we be speaking of?
And are we talking the parks, or are we talking about the ball diamonds at the parks?
Yeah,
or-
right.
or what aspect of
Yeah.
So,
naming rights?
well, initially, just going through the parks, I was trying to get a history of why a lot of them are named the way they are. Some have a very generic name. East Lakeland Heights Play Lot, I'm not exactly sure why that's named that. But I feel there's an opportunity, whether or not it's worth it, whether or not someone's willing to pay $5,000, $10,000 a year to call a park Johnson Park, I don't know. Commons Park doesn't have a name, Brookstone Park. Let's see, Wallace Park was named after a local teacher and someone who worked for the DNR that was killed in a car crash in 1997. Fayetteville Park is named after a family that, they might have donated the land, I couldn't find that. But they were a huge landowner, and they own 800 acres north of town that's now owned by the Madison Audubon Society. And Yeah, Bartles Beach is named after someone who donated the land, but some of them are just there. So if it's possible, like I don't want to put a gaudy name on the sign, but if it's good for our Parks Board and it pays for a playground, and some of these cities that we looked at that are doing this are spending, like Cleveland, I think is spending, or Austin, Texas is spending $300,000 to find out how much this is worth, and obviously we can't do that, but I don't know if it's up to like open bid or closed bid, or, you put a reserve on it or something and say for 10 years, we can name something Johnson Park, for $5,000 a year over 10 years. I don't know. It seems like it might be worth it to the city.
But if I'm hearing the ask, is that we, again, would ask that we get ideas, some options and costs, and I think this would have to be something would have to go through like the city attorney and such for like the contract and, the limitations, because I think you'd want to keep it pretty narrow to what it could be named. And as you say, Jacob, for how long?
Yeah, I think that if you kind of, the way that football stadiums operate, you buy the naming rights for a given amount of time. And then whether or not that money goes into the general fund or straight to the Parks Department, I don't know. Whether or not the sign is renamed, like hypothetically Johnson Park, or if it's Tyranina Park sponsored by the Johnson family. Like obviously we just had a speaker in here that wants to donate a bench. So we have a ton of people in town that want to donate to our community, whether that's benches or memorial trees. I think this is just another option for the city to make revenue.
Yeah.
And I remember talking with Director Schreiner, and he said that there's an influx of people who want to donate benches where we're kind of running out of space for benches. So it's like just another option. And
No, I think that's, very wise for revenue and something like that. But I do think we have to be clear about what it could be named for how long and what the cost would be. And also, would we also recommend that ones that are already named for a person or because who donated would be not up for discussion? It'd be more like you were saying, Jacob,
Well, my initial thought is, like, we obviously don't have to rename all of them at once, but if we were to hypothetically put, one as a possibility, and say, does anyone want to buy naming rights? And maybe we'll get no interest.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll get a ton of interest and we'll be surprised at the bids. I don't know how it will shake out, and obviously it's kind of a guessing game, because we're certainly not going to spend $300,000 to hire a consulting firm to do this. But we do have a decent amount of parks that have a very generic name that could be, because Bartles Beach used to be something else.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it wasn't always Bartles Beach. I think it was just Lakeland Park.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So
It's still its official name in our ordinances on the plat,
Lakeland
I
Park
believe.
is Bartles.
So just to answer a couple questions, you'd probably have to identify what park you wanted to look at, and then we may have to do a title search. We certainly would need to go through any dedication documents or previous donation documents just to make sure that there aren't any previous commitments that the city has made in exchange for receiving that land. For example, there's within Wallace Park, right, there's the Island Felt Woods, right? That's, the city's required to have that name displayed at that park. So we'd have to see what other restrictions might exist if we identified a park that we wanted to look into. And then as far as revenue, absent council action, all revenue goes into the general fund. So the council can certainly designate a program's revenue to benefit something, but absent that, if you did generate revenue, it automatically goes into the general fund for general government purposes.
Because one of the things I was reading about, I forget which municipality, but I think 15 to 20% of the revenue from one of these parks was paid to a consultant, and they found the buyer, if you will, and I don't know if that'd be a possibility. And obviously, these parks are going to have a different naming value depending on the park. So I do agree with you that we would have to pick a park and go from there if that was something we wanted to do.
Well, I think it'd also be interesting, so I think the concept, I'm all for more revenue. And like your experience in this space would be interesting too, Drake, to hear from your perspective, like if you've approached this in other communities you've worked in. But naming, like I said, even a ball diamond, like sponsored by, this ball diamond is sponsored by this business or this family. So if the park is, you can't rename Wallace Park, but could you name the, like, ball diamond #1 sponsored by, so I think, so even the components within a park might be something of interest. It's like the interest in the park benches. Someone may have an interest in being a sponsor leader of an element in the park too, for name.
Yeah,
whether it's for-
there's obviously different elements in it, and one of the reasons that I started kind of moving forward with this idea was I have a friend who's a GM of a concrete company in town, and the GM said that, or the guy who owns the concrete company said, we're willing to like put a bunch of money into changing the volleyball court at Fayetteville Park into a basketball court because he's got kids that want to play there. And he's like, we would donate the concrete to do some footings, I think, for the basketball stands, the hoops. And I was like, how much would you donate? And what if we just name the pad after you? You know, and it's like, these people are willing to do this. And I've heard one local parent say, I would gladly kick $5,000 to put a basketball court in Fayetteville Park. So there are people that seemingly want, and that was without putting his name on it.
Well, I
So-
do have a couple clarifying questions because I'm kind of hearing a couple different things in that, and Drake can speak to this, in Commons Park, we have the pillars and have, names on the pillars and such. And that money was, I believe those pillars were started, must be 20, 25 years ago. So, but your name is on the pillar and it goes to the city. And so if we are looking at names on like a basketball court, I think we have to make sure that maybe their name is on a plaque somewhere.
Well, yeah, I would agree, and as far as I know, signage is not an expensive cost, and whether that's, like this basketball court was donated by Tim Sprecher, and hypothetically, if we're talking about Brookstone Park, it's just named after the Brookstone neighborhood. As far as I know, that's not anyone's last name, and it wasn't named after someone, but if someone was willing to just name it, Johnson Park for 20 years, and it has a Sprecher basketball court.
Yeah. Now, I do, and I don't, maybe Drake can speak to this or Mary can speak to this, is that there's going to be a cost for the city to look into this. And so it becomes, we have to cover the cost of that exploration and, all the, looking at the covenants and such that Drake is speaking of. So it goes back to what would we be charging for, let's go to the park, let's say Brookstone. All that would have, we're going to pick Brookstone, or what was the other one that had
So basically, there's a lot of them. So
Tyranina, really.
Brookstone, Commons, East Lakeland Heights, Playlot, Memorial, Rotary, Wetland Park.
Okay, all right, so.
We got more.
Yeah.
Because Rotary's at the Rotary, and Tyranina has the covenants with the Baptist Church and such,
Sandy
so.
Beach, Mill Pond Park, and Tyranina Park is
Okay.
something. But,
Okay,
my thought is hypothetically, if you were to open it up to bids, set a reserve, kind of like eBay, saying minimum, I don't know, $5,000, hypothetically.
Yeah.
And say, we will put your name on this park for X amount of years. You have to, that person has to also pay for the signage. And I think ultimately the council would have to say, this is an appropriate name. It's the last name of someone in our community. And we're not going to name it Burger King Park or anything, but, if we went along with that, I don't think it detracts from our community in any way. It's someone who wants to give back financially to our community. There feels like there's a lot of winners on this.
and that the agenda item is discussion, so thank you for that. What would be as far as our next steps, and going back to Drake's guidance, is that we would want to pick one so we could find, someone could do the research on the covenants and everything else that goes into it. Yes, sir.
I think maybe I can start. I can talk with Dan about it. We would probably we'd need to come up with a process for how we would solicit naming rights to a park. We'd have to come up with criteria for how we would determine whether a name is appropriate or not for a park. Because we don't want to run afoul of any accusations of discrimination or anything like that. If someone submits a high bid and the council decides not to name a park that, we want to make sure those rules are set. I can foresee some pitfalls here. I'm not saying that it's not a reason to explore it. I just want to kind of talk it through perhaps to see what process we would need to set up. I think certainly donations, condition of donation can be naming of something, and then the city can either agree or not agree to that condition. The library, I know the library board is going through a process right now about whether naming certain rooms or certain aspects as they solicit donations for their library expansion project. So I could talk to them about what process and criteria they've set up for that. So I can do a little exploring on the subject and figure out, what framework we would need to operate within before perhaps the board dives into a specific park and starts getting into that. But of course, it's up to the board, but there's some questions I would want answered before we started down the road.
Yeah, so what do people think of Drake's offer? I think, we want to look at the benefits, but the pitfalls and the other issues that might come up that Dan might know right away, or the Fargo, library people would know right away. So with that, Drake, is that something you'd be able to present in that December meeting, or is that something that would be too
I will
quick to
do
turn
my
around?
best, and I'll reach out to you if time gets away from me, but that would be my goal, would be
Okay.
December.
All right.
Yeah, that's a bit interesting. I think, there are probably there's probably process infrastructure for other industries and maybe not city parks per se, or maybe there are some guidelines for, or framework for city parks. Like, 'cause I'm just recalling when they were building on American Family Children's Hospital extension, and they were running, you could name a clinic room, and it was $10,000, and you get your plaque, whatever, the Schmager family, the Slaby family, but it was a set amount, so you knew your name. To your point, like, do you go out for bid and just leave an open number, or do you actually put a number? And they had numbers, like, for if you want a room plaque, it was 10,000. If you want a X, it's 50. Like, you're at this donation level. So they have different tiers based on what was being named. And so I think there's to learn from other industries, but there might be something in the park space, or that might be out there that could be helpful, rather than inventing it from scratch.
And I can
to
take a
move
look
this
at
faster.
Cleveland. I know you mentioned Cleveland and Austin, and I can see if there's guidelines that they've set up. I mean, those are obviously
Big
a
cities,
factor,
yeah.
bigger than us, but I can look into it and see if I can find any information on how it's gone before. I'm sure that, naming things within a park has definitely happened before, right? Ball fields, playgrounds, even in our own, right? Wallace Park, the Island Felt Woods is, a subset of that park. And so I'm sure such activities have occurred in the past, and it's likely not novel.
I can forward to you, I'm not sure I did, a link to.
Green
whatever-
Lake.
Whatever city has Green Lake in it is looking at this process, and they're
Okay.
right next door, so it might be more of our scale.
Great.
Right, so thank you for bringing that forward, Jacob, and I think we're all in agreement that having Drake explore and report at December would be acceptable? Yep. Right, and so thank you very much, and I think, like you said, we'll look at scale, we'll look at options and such. Is that acceptable to you, Jacob?
Yeah, I just, off the top of my head, like just to determine value without spending $300,000, I think one of the ways to go forward is obviously Drake's due diligence, obviously, but then if you set a reserve and maybe close bidding, let the market determine the value. Hypothetically, let's say in 2026, we're to sell the naming rights for one of these parks, maybe we'll get a $50,000 offer.
Yeah.
And we'll
Well-
realize that it's way more than we estimated.
Yeah,
Or-
and I don't know if this is the same thing, but I know right now the Rock River Coalition is doing an auction. And, there's different things you can bid on, but then they have a win now price. So you just don't have to do the bidding, but it says, if you really want it, here's the price.
Like eBay.
Yeah, and so we can explore that and see if it makes sense for, certain items, but, so again, thank you, Drake, for the offer, and thank you for bringing it forward, Jacob. All right, if not any more, yes, Mary?
I have a question. So it's not really naming rights, but it kind of is related because you brought it up in the conversation regarding this generous offer for people to support the basketball court. And so what are the next steps? Is there anything the Parks Board can do to support the conversation you had? Or now that, we have Drake joining us in the absence of Eric, I mean, is there something that it would be helpful? Because you don't want to turn down a wonderful opportunity
Yeah, so it's.
for assistance like that.
So basically, the offer, as a friend of mine is a general manager of this local concrete company, and he said that his boss, who owns the company, and his name's on the company, said, we're willing to put in the hoops for free. And then I said, what else? I'm like, would you put in a huge concrete slab and we'll name the court after you? And that might have been a bigger ask than he thought, but I think that the goal is they want it done. They want to be able to play basketball with their kids out there, and then not to take 5 years, because the one guy said that they're willing to put in the hoops. Another guy said, I'm willing to write you a $5,000 check. But those kids are getting a little bigger and bigger every day, so.
Maybe I can break in there. It could be analogous to the pickleball, where you talk to your friends, and if they're willing, they could sponsor a drive, and then we aren't doing all the calling, they are. Who's interested in contributing to basketball courts there?
The Rotary or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Is that
do.
how you would suggest, Drake?
I guess I might be a little behind the eight ball on this one, but as we're talking about Fayetteville Park replacing the
Yeah, so,
the volleyball court with a potential basketball court. I don't know if anyone's done any legwork on finding out what the cost would be, but I believe that was something Eric, when he was talking about pickleball, they found out what it would actually cost in order to bring it to fruition, and then that helped inform kind of the donation drive that was ultimately very successful. So
Well, and we've got the person on the line who can tell us exactly, the concrete guy.
yeah.
Could tell you what the courts cost and what.
So if I could find out like what the total cost is, it might be easier to say like the city is ready, willing, and able to make this change at Fayetteville Park. It's been endorsed by the Parks Board. The city council's acquiesced to it. Now it's a matter of funding, and then we set up a mechanism or a group or whoever it is to make those donations possible so that we can. I'll have the like-kind. Depending on the cost of the project, the in-kind contribution, like they'll donate the work or something, I have to do some more research on because I've never quite gotten a grasp on when public bidding, right? If they're donating all of the work, is that okay? If you're still paying for labor, but they're donating the concrete? So I need to get a better grasp on when we can.
Well, what he had talked about, the specific person, was he thought that by law, we're required to have fencing around a basketball court. And in my mind, I'm literally just thinking of replacing sand with concrete or asphalt. I have absolutely no idea which one is more expensive. I assume concrete is more expensive. So whether or not, and I don't know, but he said that the fencing would be a pretty significant cost. So
I'm not aware of needing a fence around a
Yeah, 'cause-
basketball court,
yeah,
but I
so-
can certainly look into it.
And where it's located, the street is far enough away, there's no houses anywhere nearby. So I think if it's just literally a slab of concrete and two hoops, I feel, and that's it.
The Brookstone Park basketball courts are not fully enclosed in fencing.
I think they have fencing like when it's next to the house, but it's like next to a house if I remember, but that's
Or
the only.
road, otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, but like obviously it's uphill, if you guys can visualize it, the basketball court or the volleyball court is downhill from the road, so balls aren't gonna bounce up there. Closest house is, I would guess, 100 yards away.
So
But if
just
anyone
to-
would like to reach out to me and talk to me about making a potential donation to the city and how to bring that to a project that they would like to contribute to fruition, I'm happy to have that conversation and facilitate getting them through that process.
The reason being was my son and both of their sons are all 10 years old, and they want to play basketball out there, but those kids are getting a little older, so like, if we could just do this, we're willing to help out, expedite the process,
Maybe
but
that's what you could do, Jacob. You and your contact could just sit down with Drake and have a conversation and get it going and
Yeah.
see what you
that'd be
can work
fastest.
on together.
When we have funding, we can move fast.
funny how that works.
Show me
We-
the money.
And we have talked, by the way, we talked about this specific change with Eric several times. So we've talked about that as an opportunity, even in '26. I know we're trying to get that in the plan, but,
And to Drake's comment and Mary's and yours, Jacob, if you get your person talking now, this might be able to, be moved quickly. I do want to make sure that we're doing it to maybe not the highest standards, but to quality. I mean, it's got to be, again, I'm making it up, 6 inches thick, and the backboards have to be a certain standard, so they're not cracking off after, a year of your son slam dunking the deal. So, but I do think it's a great idea, but I also want to go back to Mary's comment that these are the sort of things in the agenda we have to be pretty specific about. Here we're talking about naming rights, but now we're kind of talking about donations in kind and all that sort of a thing. And I do think when we're making recommendations or asked to the city council or to our parks and forestry people, we got to be pretty clear what our ask is.
Well, if
So
we
I
could
think-
get that meeting
I'll
between now and the
I'll
next
text him as soon as we're done
and
tonight.
the next
wonderful.
board meeting, we can put
Yes.
it on the agenda.
Yes, no, and that's it, but I want to be specific what we're putting on the agenda, so, report and such. So thank you. And we'll get that when we're doing out the next agenda items. But I think it's, and again, it's what's good for the kids, what's good for the community, and whatever we can raise revenue for or spend less, from our coffers, all that is good for the city. So, thank you very much. Any other comments? All right, if not, let's move on to item number 7 on the agenda, announcements. Do we have announcements from? Yes,
I
Mike.
have just one. With Eric's lamentable departure, I'm going to be taking over submitting the agenda to Lisa for printing. And I've been told that for legal, they have to have it no later than 2:00 on Thursday before the meeting. But really, that's getting it to them. Personally, if you could get it to me, any suggestions by the Monday before the next meeting, that gives them, make sure I have time to look at it. I can type it up, send it to Tim. If he agrees, he sends it to them. So from now on, if that's acceptable to everybody, just send your suggestions to me and then.
And actually, I kind of expand your ask a little bit. We always try to get it like the Thursday before, then things are going on. Then we'd send it on Monday or Tuesday. So if you have agenda or things you want to put on there, get it in there a week before.
So a little more than a week then, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I
like
mean,
the third-
if you don't, but it gets, less compression, more clarification. And again, but the minimum is that Thursday, but I think we could do it sooner than that. That's
Right, the
best.
the Thursday right before is way too soon. And,
Yes.
if
Yeah.
it comes to me then, I'm not going to get
Yes.
it to them in time,
Yes.
so.
Yeah, and especially with somebody new coming on staff, I think we really have to help them as much as we can to, to succeed.
So what do we, well, it doesn't matter. We can say the Monday before at the
Yeah,
deadline.
yeah. But I say for
A week.
most part, practically, that'd be it, but try to get it in there as quick as you can. So, but thanks for bringing that up, Mike, and thank you for doing that.
In case anyone is interested, the Public Works Board will be making a recommendation on award of the Bartles Beach seawall replacement project. So that bidding window closed, we got multiple bidders, so they'll be making a recommendation to City Council on award and to whom.
All right, thank you for that announcement. Great. Any other announcements? All right, if not, let's move to item number 8, create next meeting agenda items. Again, so for clarity, I'm going to go back, and Mike, this is for you. We'll do a call to order. We'll do the roll call. We're going to do the Parks and Forestry report. More than likely, it's going to be a synopsis. Drake, more than likely you again, or some from your staff.
Most likely.
All right. And then minutes, other public comments, including emails, then the 6 new business. Do we want, just for now, do we want to have the first thing is any presentations, be the agenda item A? I think that was a great call on Mary's part. So if this,
Oh, I see what you mean.
If we have a visitor presenting or representing something. they have-
requesting.
Requesting something, put them first.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
institutionalize it that way.
Yeah, I just think that would be wise. And then that will be first, and then the next one will be the discuss, CORP, 8,
Chapter 8.
Chapter 8 and such. And continue discussion on the traffic, right? That's still going to be there?
If
I
we need
believe
to.
that we'll
That'll be
try and
Public
have the
Works.
Public Works Board discuss that. in
Yeah.
a
Okay,
separate
so that's
one.
off, all right, thank you. Anything, I'm sorry,
Then an update on naming rights, I think, could be,
yeah.
if there's an update, you have enough time, Drake. If not,
Yep.
we'd have to move that into
Yep.
January.
Yeah, I would say naming right and the, donations in kind or something like that, just to get clarity as, it's kind of two separate things, but both would be good to know about. And then announcements, and then again,
I'd have only one other thing, is maybe just an update on the beach safety at Bartels. Eric sent me an email about where we stand on, remember how we were talking about motorized access?
oh, all
So I
right,
can just
That'd be
introduce
okay.
interesting.
So that would be item number
A,
E?
D, or C or D or whatever.
Okay, all right, so you get that in, that's great. What about the cameras and such? Might we get did we have cameras for safety at?
Loft.
Well, I think it was all in Sandy Beach, was it not? It was also the boat launches and other places.
I will find out what I can for you.
We're just, did it work? Have we seen anything? And,
Oh, yeah, that's
There's a
right.
camera project ongoing of installation, but I can't tell you offhand exactly where each camera is being installed.
and I know there, and this might be a completely different thing, but I know Eric was talking about one of the things with the cameras, they're gonna try to find the people that damage things.
Yep.
And get them to pay, or their insurance company to pay for the damage. So I think if the more we can see the success of that as we move forward, because I think people want to say, you did something, was it successful? So,
I do have a question. How are we set for holiday lights and stuff? Is there anything that we would want to be putting on the agenda next time on that?
I think it's fine. So could you be a bit more specific,
Well,
Anita?
a while back, Hope had come here discussing holiday lights and holiday okay, don't laugh, decorations and stuff. And I just wondered if we're good on that, or if there's anything that, I don't know specifically, I haven't received input, but I know that, there was the discussion of making sure to stay on target with that, and,
Don't we already have them up in Commons Park? I think they're.
oh, they're up already?
Well, I saw a lot of workers out there. I think they're around, Drake's looking.
Are they? Okay, I haven't been down there
I
at the
don't know if
dark.
they turn them on until they do the tree lighting, but because I was talking with one of the workers, I was taking a walk, and there were a handful of people hanging them in the, what do you call it, where the band goes over the pavilion, and they were around the little, I don't know, all over. I
So we're
think
good?
they're up. I actually
Okay.
think they're up.
Yes, but I do think Anita brings a very good point. I just make sure it's on the agenda so people know that it's gonna be up and this is when it's gonna be up. And this is the process. Santa goes up such and such time, the trees get lit on such and such a time, so that people know.
Santa is the one.
I'm sorry, Mary?
Yeah, Santa is a good one.
Yeah, I just think that, and I know, as you said, Anita, Hope and some other citizens say, when is this gonna be? And so they can get it into their plans when they're gonna have a festivity or something like that. So let's put that on the agenda and get an update from, even if it's our own, that, we saw them, they were nice,
Thank you.
So thank you for bringing it up. Any other comments? All right, so we've got 8 done, we're moving to 9. The next meeting is Monday, December 8th at 5:30 here. And now at 6:29, we are adjourned.